And the worst part, they started the things they saw in those videos. Should we try it? Peter's voice was barely a whisper, yet it sent a shiver down Mary's spine. She hesitated, heart pounding. Then, slowly, she nodded. Okay. Peter, did you start this? His hands shook. What are you doing? What I saw next changed everything. It all started weeks earlier, in Willow Creek, where life used to feel so simple. Peter and Mary were inseparable, two kids who lived right next door to each other. Their laughter filled the neighborhood every day. They played tag, climbed trees, and dreamed up wild adventures together. My mom, Aunt Maggie, often joked that they were more siblings than neighbors. She treated Mary like her own daughter, just like Aunt Rose did with Peter. One afternoon, Peter came home from school asking for something new, a phone. "Mom, please, I need it for homework," he begged. At first, Aunt Maggie said no. He was only 9 after all, but she couldn't resist his big brown eyes forever. The next weekend, she handed him a kid-friendly phone with a warning, "Use this wisely." At first, things seemed fine. Peter played games on it, watched cartoons, and even shared it with Mary. But then, things changed. Slowly at first, almost too quietly to notice. One day, while playing outside, I overheard them talking about some app they found. "What's that?" Mary asked, peeking over Peter's shoulder. "I don't know," Peter whispered back. "Let's watch and see." They disappeared into Peter's room, locking the door behind them. That should have been my first clue something was wrong. Kids their age shouldn't lock doors unless they're hiding something. But I didn't think much of it. Not then. Days turned into weeks. Instead of running around outside like they used to, Peter and Mary stayed glued to that phone. Their laughter stopped. When Aunt Maggie or Aunt Rose asked what was going on, they shrugged it off. "Just watching videos," Peter would say casually. Something about the way he spoke made my stomach twist, but I told myself I was imagining things. Then one day, Aunt Maggie came home early. The house was eerily quiet, too quiet. Her footsteps echoed down the hall as she walked toward Peter's room. I followed close behind because, honestly, I wanted to know what was going on too. She knocked on the door. "Peter? Mary, what are you doing?" There was a shuffle inside, then silence. Aunt Maggie opened the door without waiting for an answer. On the bed, I saw the phone lying there innocently. But when Aunt Maggie picked it up and scrolled through its history, her face went pale. "What is this?" she shouted, holding up the phone. Tears welled up in Mary's eyes as she realized they'd been caught. Aunt Rose arrived soon after. Both mothers sat Peter and Mary down, their voices trembling with anger and disappointment. "These videos aren't meant for kids," Aunt Rose snapped. "How could you do this?" But here's the thing. They didn't take the phone away. They thought Peter had learned his lesson. Boy, were they wrong. Instead of stopping, Peter and Mary got sneakier. They left doors cracked open to listen for footsteps. They set alarms to stop watching before anyone caught them again. And worst of all, they started talking about the stuff they saw in those videos. "Do you think we should try it?" Peter asked one day, his voice barely above a whisper. Mary hesitated, but nodded. "Okay." That's when things took a turn. I'll never forget. One afternoon, while Aunt Maggie and Aunt Rose were out shopping, Peter and Mary snuck into the bathroom. I wasn't supposed to be home. I was at a friend's house, but I forgot my jacket and came back. As I walked through the front door, I heard Aunt Maggie calling out, "Peter, Mary, where are you?" Panic erupted upstairs. Doors slammed shut. By the time I reached the top step, Aunt Rose pushed open the bathroom door. Her scream still haunts me. "What are you doing?" she yelled, her face white as a sheet. And then she collapsed, just like that. Aunt Rose hit the floor hard, clutching her chest. Everything happened so fast. We called 911, But by the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Aunt Rose didn't make it. The house felt empty after that. No one spoke for days. Aunt Maggie blamed herself. Peter cried endlessly, and Mary looked like she'd lost a part of herself. Guilt hung heavy in the air, pressing down on everyone. The families decided to get help. A counselor came over twice a week to talk to Peter and Mary. At first, they refused to open up, but slowly, painfully, they began to share what had happened. The curiosity, the secrecy, the videos, and how it all spiraled out of control. The counselor explained things to them in simple terms. Curiosity isn't bad, but when we don't ask for guidance, it can lead us somewhere dangerous. Peter finally broke down one session. "I just wanted to know what everyone else was talking about," he sobbed. "But now Aunt Rose is gone because of me." Mary hugged her knees to her chest, whispering, "We thought we were being cool. We thought no one would find out." That night, Aunt Maggie called Mary's mom to share what happened. Together, they made a decision. Peter and Mary needed stricter boundaries, yes, but more importantly, they needed constant reminders that they could always come to their parents with questions or mistakes. No judgment, no anger. Fast forward 2 years. Peter and Mary are older now, wiser, but still carrying the weight of what happened. They've become advocates at school, sharing their story during assemblies about internet safety and responsible choices. Kids listen because it's real. It's not some lecture from adults. It's a cautionary tale from peers who lived through it. One day, while helping clean out Aunt Rose's old closet, Peter found a letter addressed to him and Mary. It must have been written years ago, long before any of this happened. In neat handwriting, Aunt Rose had written, "To my dear Peter and Mary, never forget that curiosity is a gift, but it needs direction. Always ask questions. Always seek truth, but never be afraid to lean on those who love you. Mistakes will happen, but love forgives. Love heals. Love protects. With all my heart, Aunt Rose." Moral lesson: curiosity is natural and important. It drives us to learn and grow. But without guidance, it can lead us down dangerous paths. Always ask questions, seek advice, and remember that your family is there to protect you, not judge you. Questions for viewers. Do you think Peter and Mary should investigate further, or leave it alone? Have you ever been curious about something online that turned out to be risky? What did you do? How can parents and kids work together to stay safe in today's digital world? Let me know your thoughts below. This story isn't just theirs, it's ours too. Let's learn from it together.